Thanks for tuning in to Watch the Ordinary Filmmaker. This is a review of the Angelbird AtomX 1TB Mini SSD, an SSD that's designed specifically to work with the Atomos family of products, and in this case, I'm shooting with the 1TB on the Ninja 5. I've been using Angelbird AtomX products for some time. Back in February, I purchased the Atomos Ninja 5, and along with it, a 512GB mini SSD. And since then, I've been using it every single time I film here in the studio, and I put it through quite a beating. Now sometimes, like last week when we had the lead up to the Nikon Z9 announcement, I was shooting as many 4 videos a day, and in terms of writes, well, sustainable writes, I was recording as much as 100 gigabytes a day, and that doesn't take into account the editing that was done on the card as well, the rendering and exporting, so the cards have gotten an awful lot of use on my studio. And I said cards, but I've only been using that one 512 gigabyte card, this one here, in my Ninja 5 since February. Every single video has used this, and it's one of those technologies where you put it in and you forget it's there. You just don't really give it a second thought because it's never failed. And I actually made the mistake when I got the 1TB here several weeks ago. I put it in my Ninja, formatted it without even validating it. So why do I trust Angelbird products so much, and in particular the 1TB AtomX Mini SSD? Well, from experience, I'm a bit of a klutz, and I've already dropped this several times here shooting in the studio, upstairs on the hardwood floors, and I've never lost anything. In fact, I feel pretty confident to take this, and yes, this has a lot of 8K footage on here. This has footage of the stars and the planets. This is something I don't want to lose, but here we go, about 4 feet. It did a belly flop, by the way. This is where I wish I had a second camera, and no problems whatsoever. Now, if I have somehow damaged this while I'm editing, I will put a little note up on the top of the screen saying, you know what, I was wrong, it did damage, and I've lost data. These are shock resistant. Now, the website says it's for 1000 Gs for 0.5 milliseconds, and what they're talking about is the ability for them to withstand a drop of 3 feet or more. And I've been able to test this. I've dropped it on hardwood, I've dropped it on carpet, and I did reach out to Roman, the CEO of Angelbird, and I asked him, I said, well, can I drop it onto concrete? What about hard granite, stone? And he said to me, you know, we haven't had a single incident where somebody's called in and said they dropped it and they've lost their data, they've lost their footage or their photos. And one of the nice things, I'm going to talk about this more in other capabilities, because it's built with an aluminum casing, the nice thing about aluminum is it absorbs energy. So even if you do drop it on the corner or on the edges, that aluminum is going to deform a little bit, absorbing the energy and protecting your data, reducing the risk of failure due to drops. Angelbird uses CNC machining on these AtomX SSDs, and it offers 3 benefits. Now, one of the biggest benefits is better thermals. The Ninja 5, when it's running, gets pretty hot, and if you've ever shot outside an 80, 85 degree temperature, the Ninja 5 becomes uncomfortably hot to the point where you're going, how can this thing keep running in this heat? Well, a plastic SSD like a Samsung Evo is made of plastic, and that actually helps build up more heat inside the Ninja. Now, right behind where the SSD plugs in is where they've got their processor, which is where they want to get a lot of heat removed. Because this is made from aluminum, it draws heat away and actually lowers the temperature of the Ninja. Now, we're not talking about anything staggering like 5 or 10 degrees, but it's helping solve the problem. It's providing better thermals, helping move heat away rather than building heat up. Also, CNC machining allows them to improve the tolerances. When I plug this into the back of the Ninja, there's no playroom. If you're doing run and gun, you're moving around, vibrations aren't going to shake this thing loose. It's got a really, really tight fit. And another thing you can do with this too, you can do engravings. They do free engraving, and I know this might seem like something minor, and if you're just looking at buying a couple of these things, yeah, it's not really going to help you out. But for those of you that are doing rentals, that are buying dozens or hundreds of these for your staff, then being able to engrave serial numbers or inventory numbers onto them has a huge benefit. Stickers, after all, well, they just come loose. The Angelbird AtomX is able to provide a stable stream of power, and what that ensures is that you're able to write at the highest possible write speed consistently for minute after minute or hour after hour. And there are a couple of technologies in the AtomX that not only help provide a stable stream of power, but help protect against file corruption, especially in the event of a power outage or power disruption. First, the power coming into the Angelbird AtomX is filtered, ensuring that stable stream of power. But also, they buffer a little bit of power. And what that does is help protect the flash translation layer. So what's happening as you're recording every second, the AtomX is syncing to the container. Now, if that is missed, then you risk damaging or corrupting the file. There's no end of file marker. And so what they do is every second they synchronize to the container. And worst case scenario, when you're recording, if the power goes out or if there's a spike in power due to dirty power, you're at worst going to lose 5 to 10 seconds of data. The operating temperature range for the Angelbird AtomX 1TB SSD Mini is between minus 20 Celsius all the way up to a staggering 70 degrees. That's quite a range. Now, Fahrenheit, that's minus 4 to 158 degrees. Now, I know what you're thinking. In some areas, especially in Canada, or if you're climbing Mount Everest, like I cited earlier, minus 4 or minus 20 Celsius just isn't cold enough. And I hear you. While I was preparing for this interview, I wanted to get behind the scenes for a lot of the marketing materials on the website. You know, when they say their operating range is between minus 20 and minus 70, what does that mean? And I'm going to get into this a little bit later, but you see a lot of cameras, a lot of other electronics, they have an operating range of 0 Celsius to 40 degrees, or about 32 Fahrenheit all the way up to 100. Well, I was able to reach out to Angelbird. I actually got in touch with their CEO and I asked him a bunch of questions, one about temperature range. And I said, look, I know you've got the stated temperature range of minus 20, but what if I'm going to be shooting in minus 30 or a little bit colder? And he said, I just wouldn't worry about it. But what he did state, and I think this is very, very important, whenever you're shooting electronics and whenever you're shooting outside, whether you're using a camera, the Ninja 5, or storage like the AtomX, it's that initial power on where you're going from the ambient temperature, let's say it's minus 30, almost immediately up to 30 degrees Celsius, which is about 90, 95 degrees. You see, what happens is when you take something that's really, really cold and you heat it up quickly, the materials act in a way that, well, is not good for long-term use. Now, with circuit boards, what that can mean is they expand and contract, and they do this enough, eventually the circuit boards will crack or materials will fail. So here's my recommendation. Whenever you're shooting in the extreme cold, items like this, your computer, your camera, whatever it is, batteries, don't leave them out in the cold for too long. Don't let them get acclimatized to that exterior cold. What I would recommend with the AtomX or your other storage or even your camera is keep them warm before going outside. Keep them in the car. With these things here, put them inside your coat so it's close to your body so they don't get too cold. Same thing with your camera, keep it in the car. And if you're going to be outside in the wilderness for a long period of time, try to keep them in some sort of protective device that can actually keep them shielded from the extremes of the temperature. And what you're going to find out is your gear is going to last a whole lot longer and you're less susceptible to failure because of the harsh effects of temperature. But again, the operating temperature range for the AtomX 1TB SSD is a staggering minus 20 to 70 degrees Celsius, or again, minus 4 Fahrenheit, up to 158 degrees. And actually the storage temperatures are even greater. I think it goes up to 85 degrees Celsius, and on the cold side, minus 40. Celsius or Fahrenheit, it doesn't matter, it's the same temperature, minus 40. That's pretty staggering. I actually talked a little bit about ESD and overload protection when I was talking about that stable stream of power. I mentioned that the AtomX 1TB SSD Mini has a fuse inside that helps protect it from overloads, any unclean power coming into it. And what it will do is the fuse will automatically protect it, shut it off, and it will self-reset so you don't have to worry about breaking the device. But it's just another protective measure that Angelbird adds into their AtomX as well as their other storage solutions. While talking about the capabilities of the Angelbird AtomX Mini SSD, I've kind of gotten away from the focus that these were purpose-built for Atomos products, specifically in this case for the Atomos Ninja 5. And I love how this just fits snugly into the Ninja 5. There's actually no wiggle room whatsoever, and those tolerances help keep it in place if you're in an environment where you're running and gunning, where vibration can dislodge things. And also, The SSD caddy, I actually use Angelbird's own one. Now, previous to getting the 1 terabyte, I just picked something off Amazon and it plugged in and it did the job. I didn't have any problems with it. But when I got the Angelbird one, I thought I was plugging it in the wrong way. It was so tight, the tolerances were so minimal that it just snugly fit in. And what that helps ensure is that you don't accidentally dislodge it while you're connected to your computer. And I really like that. I like the tolerance of these. I love how these are purpose built. I mean, the underlying technology here again is NAND flash, but it's specific built for the Atomos Ninja. And I think that's really, really, you have to own it to truly understand the benefits of that. And of course, being able to draw the heat away from the Ninja 5, which generates an awful lot of heat, or even the Ninja 5 Plus. But if you do get the Ninja 5 Plus, you should be aware that the Angelbird AtomX 1 terabyte SSD, as well as the 2 terabyte and the 512 gigabyte, it does 5.7K video at 30 frames per second. In terms of how many petabytes or terabytes it can be written, well, this is the 512 gigabyte, and it can have 1.5 petabytes or 1,500 terabytes written. Now, the 1 terabyte is double at 3 petabytes, and the 2 terabyte, 6 petabytes. But what I'd like to do now is take a little bit of time and go behind the scenes of Angelbird and its founder, Roman Rebic. You see, about 10, 12 years ago, Roman was working away doing what musicians do. And at one point, he got an idea, but he needed to find a clip or a music score or something. He didn't tell me exactly what it was, but he was looking for something on one of his storage cards, and he couldn't find it. And in that process of trying to find what it was, it disrupted his creative flow. But for the rest of us, it turned out to be a good thing because, you see, Roman in that moment said, you know, there's got to be a better way of doing this. We need storage cards that are more durable with larger capacities and that can work in different operating environments. And that led to the idea that, well, how hard can it be? Why can't I start up my own company? Now, those weren't his exact words, but at that point, it gave Roman the impetus to go ahead and found Angelbird. And even today, Roman was telling me that Angelbird is filled with a lot of creatives, videographers, photographers, musicians, athletes, people who are doing those once-in-a-lifetime events on their weekends and weeknights and want to capture it onto film and use reliable storage that can operate in different operating environments. And one of the stories that Roman tells is when he just recently started up the company and a photographer came to him. This photographer shot whales and he worked in, well, challenging environments. And he had a list of specifications and he asked Roman, could you develop something for me that I could use in my environment? But that is one example of somebody that came to him with a specific use case. Roman tells me that he just recently created a batch of SSDs for one client that wanted about 2,000 SSDs. I think they're around the 4 terabyte level, and they were purpose-built specifically for a use case. If you are looking at buying SSDs, if you're looking at buying storage cards for the Ninja or other devices, or you would like to take something like this and have it purpose-built for your product, reach out to Angelbird, and they're more than happy to work with you. And I think that's something unique you see in a lot of these companies. A lot of companies will do custom things, but they usually require orders of magnitude much greater than a couple of thousand or a couple of hundred units. But you see, one of the reasons why Angelbird does have that flexibility is they design, engineer, assemble, fabricate, and package all under a single roof. And that gives them the flexibility to make changes all the way from the strategic level down through the tactical to the operational level, and gives them an awful lot of flexibility and the ability to adapt and change. Validation, it is very, very important. For every single piece of storage that I get, I run it through some simple tests. And it doesn't matter if I purchase it directly from Angelbird or if I buy it online from amazon.ca, .com, .co.uk. It doesn't matter. There's an awful lot of fakes going around these days. And even if it's not a fake, there's always a 1 in a million chance that you could get a dud. So I always validate it. And what I use is 2 pieces of software. Now on Windows, it's called H2 Test. And on the Mac, it's F3 Write. And what it does is it writes to every single block of the card as fast as it can. At the end of the test, you'll see that it completed the test at a certain speed measured in megabytes or gigabytes per second. And at that point, you know it's successful. You can go ahead and format it and put it in your camera, or in this case, in the Ninja 5. However, if it starts generating errors, that's a pretty good sign that you've bought a fake card. Always test, even if you're not planning on using it right away. This software has saved my bacon many, many times. There's nothing worse than getting out there and finding out you got a fake card. And the problem with fake cards, it's not like they fill up and let you know it filled up and you thought you bought 128 gig and you only recorded, 16 gigs worth. What happens is they monkey around with the firmware so it doesn't give you an error. What they'll do is they'll fill up the card and they'll go back and loop over it again. So when you get back to your computer, you didn't get the last 15 minutes or 10 minutes of video. You end up with corrupt files and you've lost your content. So please validate before you put your cards in use. Oh, and one last thing, please go ahead and click like and subscribe. I take it as a virtual pat on the back, and it really does help this channel grow. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. We'll see you again soon.